Okay, good tavach, everyone. Mark tells us the very sad news that in Bela Kinwood there was a loss of a young mother. We'll learn Leilu Nishmasa, Ilana Chana Bas Gila Brainala, and we learn Lahav the Ben Chaim L'Chaim L'Fu Shalem for Sarah from a Bas Chai Rachel that had a stent put in today. We're dedicated by the Fogel family, Leilu Nishmas, Yaakov Zeb ben Yehuda Aryeh, Rivka bas Yaakov Yosef, Tziv Yamirim bas Gad, Yosef ben Tzim ben Yaakov Zev, L'fu Shalema for Moshe Aryeh ben Miriam, for the schus of a great shidduch for Chaya Tzivya bas Shoshana Gittel, a great shidduch for Bati bas Sarah, by Baruch Ian, L'nishmas Yaakov Chaim ben Abba, Esther bas Yona, Avram ben Shmuel HaKain, L'fu Shalema for Liba bas Anya, L'fu Shalema for Yoshmuel ben Miriam, and for a healthy mommy, healthy baby, especially for Ariel and Lior Bas Elsa Rivka. As we see, Eretz Yisrael is being hit by missiles that are doing a lot of damage. So we have them in mind that they should be safe, and the soldiers should be safe. We are holding right away on Daf Samach Amud Aleph, and we are holding 4 lines from the top. 4 lines from the top of Daf Samach Amud Aleph. So the Gemara asks, according to Rabbi Yehuda, that is worried that you can't do Bedika after the Zman because you might come to eat the chametz that you're checking for, then how could he say the halacha is you're allowed to harvest before the Omer, the new crop, in irrigated fields in the valleys, because irrigated fields don't make superior wheat, superior barley, and therefore you're not going to use that for the Omer, so they allow you to harvest it. But you can't stack it. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, why should you be allowed to harvest it? You might come to eat it. Ma'ikalamema. Elamar Abaya, a new difference. Chodesh badalmine. The new crop, Rabbi Yehuda is not worried that you might come to eat it when you harvest it, because people are naturally separated from the new crop. Chametz, but bread, which until now everybody eats a bagel, a piece of bread, loy badalmine, and we're afraid that when he searches for it after the Zman, he might pop it in his mouth. So Amarav de Rabbi Yehuda kasha is only Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yehuda kasha. The Rabbanan loy kasha. But wait a second. The rabbis, when it comes to Bedika, they say you could check even after the Zman in order to burn it. And they're not worried you might eat it. But they don't allow you to harvest before the Omer because they're worried that you are going to eat it. So that's also a kasha. Elam Rav Rabbi Yehuda like kasha. Rabbi Yehuda is not difficult. Kedushanina, like we answered. He holds that Chodesh people are no to separate from, but chametz they don't. Drabanan also like kasha. Why aren't they worried about you searching for it after the Zman? Because since you're seeking to destroy, that's the whole reason why you're seeking. You're seeking to destroy it. Since you're seeking to burn it, are you going to make a mistake and eat it? Rav Ashi says, I have another way of answering the kasha, the Rabbi Yehuda, the kasha. What are you troubled by? That Rabbi Yehuda is worried about chametz after the Zman to look for it, but he's not worried about harvesting the Omer before the Omer. You know why? Kemach kali tanan. It says that you're allowed to have in the shuk flour and toasted grain, which is not fit for eating. So that's why you're allowed to do it, because it's not fit for eating. However, Vahad Rav Ashi Bedusahi, that of Rav Ashi is foolish, or Berusahi should be taught outside of the Beis Medrash. Teinach bekali ve'elach. That's good when it's a kali and when it's flour. Ad kali ma'ikalamemer, but when you pick it, you could eat it. and then you should be worried, according to Rabbi Yehuda, that you should eat it. The reason why we're not worried that you'll eat it, pop it in your mouth when you pick it, is because you are only allowed to pick it pulling it out and not harvesting it in the normal way. Ukid like Rabbah answered, but Beis Hashlachim d'Shai Ksira Ma'ikil. But the irrigated fields where you're allowed to harvest, what are you going to say? Why are you allowed to harvest it? You might pop it in your mouth. Elahad Ravashi Barusi. It should be taught outside of the Beis Medrash. Welcome, Michal Avram. We're starting the new Mishnah on Daf Samaches Amud Aleph. A good tavach, everybody. It's great to have all of you. And I know it's a very hard time now, right before Pesach, and it's wonderful to have all of you joining us. Again, if anybody wants me to take care of Mechiras Chametz for them, if they can't come to me personally and they want to email me their email, I'll email you a shtar. Mishikarav ha'aymer, when the aymer is offered, Hoter Chadash Miyad, the new crop is permitted immediately. Harachaikim, those that are far away, so they don't know exactly when the Aymer is offered, Mitarin Mechatzais HaYayim Ulahalan. It's permitted for them to eat from midday and on, because Kahanim's reasoning, and they could be sure that they offered the Aymer by Chatzais. Mishacharav Beis HaMikdash, when the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, Hiskin Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai sheyehei yom henef kulei aser, that the day of waving, in other words, the entire day of the 16th is aser. Now, at this point, the Gemara held that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai is saying a gezerah, because if they allow you to have the Aymer immediately in the morning, next year, when the Beis HaMikdash is built, they might say, well, last year we had it in the morning, this year we could also have it in the morning, but this year they have to wait until the Aymer is offered, so he asks it the whole day. That's what the Gemara's Havamina is in Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. The Gemara will say that that's not what Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai means. Rabbi Yehuda says, no. When the Aymer is not offered, the whole day is forbidden biblically. Shenemar, it says in the pasuk, you could eat it ad etzem hayom hazeh, until that very day. And Rabbi Yehuda holds ad is ad va'ad b'chlal, and therefore ad is including the etzem hayom, is included the day of the 16th. Now, if so, why are people that live far away allowed to eat it by chatzais? Because they know that by then the Aymer was offered. They shein yoidin she'ein bezdin mitzatzlim, by bezdin zaris, and they for sure brought the Aymer by chatzais. Now, Rav Shmuel the Imrei Travayu, bizman shebeis hamikdash kayim, when the Beis Hamikdash is around, Aymer matter. The Omer, the bringing of the Omer, permits the new crop. Bizman she'ein Beis Hamikdash kayim, he holds heyer mizrach matter. He holds as soon as it's sunrise, it's permitted. You see, he holds ad etzem hayom hazeh and ad v'loy ad b'chlal. It's until the 16th and not including the 16th. So it's permitted already right away at sunrise. Trei kroiksi, because it says two psukim. Ksiv ad haviyachem, until you bring it. V'ksiv ad etzem hayom hazeh, until that day. Okay, so kam b'zman shebeis hamikdash kayim. When the Beis Hamikdash is around, you have to wait until the Aymer is offered. Kam b'zman she'ein Beis Hamikdash kayim, b'avanesein ram, when we don't have a Beis Hamikdash, then it's ad etzem hayom hazeh and ad v'loy ad b'chlal. Now, the Targum says etzem is kran, is a shine. And that's why he holds that you have to wait until sunrise, and it's not permitted at dawn. However, Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish Imrei Travayu, afilu b'zman shebeis hamikdash kayim, even when the Beis Hamikdash is around, heyer mizrach matter. Even when the Beis Hamikdash is around, really, biblically, you could eat the new crop already in the morning of the 16th. You don't have to wait to the Aymer. I voksiv ad achem, until the omer is brought. That's only the mitzvah. That's mitzvah min hamufcher. But b'di'evet, you could have it already in the morning. Mishakar v'omer huter chodesh miyad. Isn't that shver? It says when the omer is offered. Doesn't that imply only when the omer is offered? Says Gemara, no, that's the mitzvah. That's only l'chatchila. Ha'omer ha'yamater b'medina. The omer permits the new crop to be used in the provinces. Ushtei alechem b'mikdash. The shtei alechem permits you to use the new crop for karbanas. So again, you see that it's dependent on the Eimer. Again, answers the Gemara, the mitzvah, that's only in the first instance. Says the Gemara, Mishachar Beis HaMikdash, when the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, Hiskin Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, She'yayim Henef Kulei Asa, that the day of waving should all be Asa. Why? My timer. Meheira Yibana Beis HaMikdash, the Beis HaMikdash will quickly be rebuilt. V'yayimru, and he'll say, and the people will say, Ishtaked. Yes, last year, didn't we have it right away in the morning? But they won't realize, so it was permitted in the morning. But if the Eimer is only l'chatchila, but b'diavad you could eat it in the morning, so would we make a gezerah just for l'chatchila? Says the Gemara, you know what? You learned wrong pshat in Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, b'shitas Rabbi Yehuda Eimer. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai holds that you can't eat until the night because he dashens ad etzem hayom hazeh ad va'ad b'chlal. The Amar min HaTorah also shenemar ad etzem hayom hazeh until the 16th and ad itzumoy shel yom until the 16th, and it concludes the 16th. Says the Gemara, but it seems to be that Rabbi Yehuda is arguing on Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Did not Mishacharis Beis Hamikdash, when the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, Hiskin Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, Rabbi Yochanan acted Sheyayim Henef Kulei Aser, that the 16th should be Aser. Rabbi Yehuda, what do you mean? You enacted V'aloy min HaTorah Aser. So you see that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai is arguing on Rabbi Yehuda. Says the Gemara, no. Rabbi Yehuda mistook what Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai meant. Rabbi Yehuda Katoi, who saw Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai meant midrabanan because of Gzeira, v'lohi midaraisa kama. But the Gemara asked, but he says hiskin. It doesn't imply that he enacted it for hiskin katani. Says the Gemara, no, what it means is my hiskin dorash behiskin. He expounded the pasuk of etzem hayom hazeh to mean ad va'ad b'chlal, and he was misakin that the whole day is also, but biblically. Now, what about now in by us, where we have a sveika d'yoma, and we keep 2 days? So Rav Papa Rav Huna B'rei Rav Yeshua achlei chodesh be'urta d'shitzer nagei shifzer. They ate chodesh already the night of the 17th going into the 18th. In other words, they didn't keep 2 days. They didn't make it also the 16th and the 17th. Why? Because they hold chodesh b'chutz la'aretz, the new crop is only forbidden outside of Eretz Yisrael, d'Rabbanan. Oh, since it's a d'Rabbanan, they don't worry about sveika. U'l'sveika lo yichashina. However, Rabbanan debei Rav Ashi ochlu b'tzafra d'shifzer. They ate the morning of the 17th because kasavrei chodesh b'chutz la'aretz is daraisa, and therefore they keep an extra night. Says the Gemara. But if they hold chodesh daraisa, why don't they forbid the whole 17th? Because they hold Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai midrabanan kama. They hold the Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai only enacted it as a gzeira, and therefore the day of the 16th is aser only d'Rabbanan. So therefore, since the day of the 16th is only aser d'Rabbanan, therefore v'chi taken l'yom henef, he enacted it. Therefore, for the 16th, l'sveika loy taken. He didn't enact it for a Sveika D'Yoma, and therefore they permitted it already the morning of the 17th. Ravina, now here we have the most stringent opinion. Amruli Aim, my mother told me, Avuch, your father, he waited not only the 16th day, but the whole 17th day until the night going into the 18th. Why? Because he held that Chodesh B'zman Hazeh b'chutz la'aretz is Doraisa, and he held that the 16th is also Doraisa because of Ad V'Ad B'chlal, and therefore in Chutz La'aretz he kept Sveika D'Yoma, the Savalak Rabbi Yehuda. He held like Rabbi Yehuda that it's an Issa Doraisa, and he holds that Chodesh in Chutz La'aretz is also Doraisa, and therefore V'chayish L'Sveika, he's concerned for a Sveika D'Yoma. Now, Ha'omer ha'yamatir b'Medina. The Omer permitted the new crop for people to use outside of the Beis Hamikdash. U'shtei alechem b'mikdash, but you couldn't bring from the new crop lechatchila until that you brought the shtei alechem. You couldn't bring from the new crop lechatchila a carbon like a mincha until they brought the shtei alechem and shvuas in the mikdash. Ein meviyah menachos bikurim u'minchas behema koydem la'omer. You can't bring meal offerings, first fruits, the mincha that accompanies a carbon before the omer from the new crop, im hevi pasel. As we said, you really shouldn't bring it from the before you bring the 2 loaves on Shavuos. But im havi, but if you do bring a carbon from the new crop before Shavuos, that is kosher. So the question is, why? Yosef Reb Tarfon v'Kokashale ma ben koydem la'omer l'koydem shtei alechem. If the shtei alechem permits the new crop for karbanos, why is it okay if you bring it before the shtei alechem, but not okay if you bring it before the omer? So Amar lefanav Yehuda bar Nechemya. So Yehuda bar Nechemya said, "Lo, it's no comparison. Im amro koydem la'omer. If you bring a carbon before the omer, so that's no good because it's not even good for a commoner to eat it. Shekein lo yutem mechlaloi. It's not permitted even eitzel hedyet. Timer kodim shtei alechem. If you bring a carbon before the shtei alechem, b'diavad it's good. Shehotem mechlaloi eitzel hedyet. So shasak Rabbi Tarfon. Rabbi Tarfon was quiet. He was bested by this answer. Now the next Gemara, Rabbi Isai, should give us the chills. The next Gemara really, really, really should give us the chills. Tzavu panav shel Rabbi Yehuda ben Nechemya. Rabbi Yehuda ben Nechemya's face shone that he said something that Rabbi Tarfon didn't think about. Rabbi Tarfon was one of the great sages, and he said something, so he had a shine of happiness that he thought of something. Oy vey. Oy vey. Amrullah Rabbi Akiva rebuked him. Yehuda tzavu panecha sheishafta es zaken? Your face shines that you refuted the argument of the sage? Tamani, I would be amazed im tarich yamin, if you're going to live long. Amar Rabbi Yehuda ben Rabbi Eloi, Rabbi Yehuda ben Eloi said, Oisay aperek prois ha-Pesach. That incident happened 15 days before Pesach, like we are in now. Kishalisi la'atzeres, when I went up to Eretz Yisrael on Shavuos, sha'alti acharav, I inquired after Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Nechemya, and I found out v'amaloi li niftar v'holachlai. He already passed away. It's pointed out that he died during the days of Svira, during the time that the 24,000 Talmidei Rabbi Akiva died because they didn't give respect to one another. And this is one of the most scariest Gemaras in Shas, about how careful we have to be with Kavod Torah. I mean, what did Rabbi Yehuda ben Nechemia do? He didn't say anything. He didn't say anything negative. He just was happy that he bested Rabbi Tarfon. When it comes to Kavod Torah, it's 20,000 volts. It also reminds Rebbeim and Talmidei Chachamim that they should always be meichel people. Should never have a tain on someone. This is we know from Svira that the Talmidei Rabbi Kiva died the most horrible death. There's over 900 ways to die, and the worst way is askara, diphtheria, or croup, and they died from that death because they didn't give Kavod Torah one to the other. Kavod Torah is something that's not to play around with. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak l'divrei Yehuda ben Nechemia, according to Yehuda ben Nechemia, that since it's permitted for a hedyot, you're allowed to bring it to the Mizbeach, nisachim bikurim, libations from grapes, the new grapes, shekrivam kaidem la'aymer ksher, that are brought before the aymer are kosher. Why? Because grapes are never forbidden to a hedyot. So he says it's permitted because it was permitted to a hedyot. Well, grapes are never forbidden. The aymer only permits wheat. Grapes are never permitted. So the Gemara says pshita. Now the same ahasam who dohut michlal eitzel hedyot. There by wheat it was permitted. Aval hachad deloy hut michlal, here where it's not permitted, it just never was forbidden. Maybe loy kamash malam kol shrein hacha, for sure over here deloy yitzer klal, that if you bring libations from new grapes even before the aymer, it's permitted to the mizbeach. Now the Gemara asks an interesting question. Boy Rami bar Chama shtei alechem ma'u sheyatiru sheloi kesidron. The two loaves, could they permit something for the mizbeach out of order? It's very interesting. What happened was crops took root after the aymer, before the shtei alechem. So the first thing that passes the shtei alechem, and then the omer of the next year, could it then be brought on the mizbeach? Here it's out of order. It's supposed to be first the aymer and then the shtei alechem. Here it's the shtei alechem and then the aymer. Does it permit it out of order? Again, let's see it inside. By Rami bar Chama, shtei alechem ma'u sheyatiron sheloi kesidron. Can the shtei alechem permit the new crop out of order? Hechi dami. Kigain dezarinu beina aymer l'shtei alechem. You planted it after Pesach, before the shtei alechem. So the first thing that passed over it, v'cholaf alayu shtei alechem, and then v'aymer, and then aymer. Therefore, it's out of order. My kesidron shayin, is it only permitted if it's in order? First the aymer and then the shtei alechem. Shaloi kesidron loy shayin. So you have to wait till the next shtei alechem. Aydom shaloi kesidron nami shayin. It could be out of the order also. So Amar Rabbah, now the Gemara brings a long-winded proof. First, the Gemara talks about a very basic thing. How do we know that the aymer that permits the new crop that's often on the 16th of Nisan is brought from barley? Now, although we all know that, we've been learning it many days already, but believe it or not, the pasuk never says it outright. That, it's a funny thing. The pasuk never says that the aymer is from barley. How do we know it's from barley? So Gemara is going to tell us three opinions. Tajma v'im takriv minchas bikurim. When you offer the first mincha, that's the mincha of the new crop. That's the aymer. The minchas the aymer akasa medaber. So the Gemara says, mehechon ba. Where does it come from? So the Gemara says Menachos from barley. So the Gemara says, how do you know? You say it's from barley, or ein ela menachitin. It doesn't say in the pasuk that it's from barley. Rebbe Eliezer, but it says aviv. Aviv literally means ripened. But Nema aviv b'Mitzrayim, it says that by the plague of hail, the ripe crop was stricken. And it says the barley was stricken. V'nema aviv l'dairis. And it says by the Eimer aviv. Ma aviv ha'amar b'Mitzrayim. It refers to barley, sa'irin. Af aviv ha'amar l'dairis sa'irin. That's one pshat. Very nice pshat. Okay. Rabbi Kiva doesn't need my askama. Rabbi Kiva Aimer Matzinu Yochid Shemei V'Chayvasim Menachitin V'Chayvasim Menasairin. We find an individual most of the time brings his obligation when he sins from wheat, but a saita brings from barley. So it must be that there's a counterpart that the tzibur also has a carbon from barley. But which one is it? If you're going to say that even the aimer is brought from wheat, there won't be a counterpart that the tzibur brings from barley. That's the second reason. A third reason, this is a cute reason. It says that the shtei alechem is the bikurim of a wheat carbon. But if the aimer is brought from the wheat, then the shtei alechem won't be the first. Then ain't shtei alechem bikurim. The shtei alechem won't be the first carbon to be brought from wheat. So now it's coming from this third reason that the Gemara says, but if you're going to say that the shtei alechem could be out of order, v'im isa, the shtei alechem shaloi kesidrin shayin, that shtei alechem permits even out of order. So you could have that the aimer is brought from wheat, and the shtei alechem is still brought from a new crop from wheat. Mishkachas lo the makir of aimer mehanach the ashvis koydem l'shtei alechem. You brought the aimer from that which took root before the shtei alechem. Ubasar aimer dishtaket, after the aimer of last year. Ushtei alechem, and the shtei alechem is brought from the new crop which is took root after the aimer. Mehanach the mehanach the ashvish koydem l'aimer dahashta, but ubasar shtei alechem dishtaket, but after the shtei alechem of last year. So it's out of order. Says the Gemara, no. Because mi savit, do you think when it says bikurim, it means of the crop, the peira kamrina? No, lemizbeach kamrina. It has to be that this is the first time that wheat is offered on the mizbeach. If the aimer is offered from wheat, it's not the first time that it's offered from the mizbeach. Okay, we're going to pause over here for a moment.